Welcome back for our final segment this week with our Fan and Press Luncheon here at O'Neill's Grill, just a little off the JMU campus. I'm Kurt Dudley, your host, and joined now by our third guest today as Matt Brady is joining us, the head coach of the JMU men's basketball Dukes. Coach, the season upon us again this week, actually coming up with a very big contest, one that should really pack and bring a lot of energy into the Convocation Center against the Virginia Cavaliers. Before we talk more about that game, though, how has the preseason progressed for you? And certainly you've already had to make a few adjustments.
Well, yeah, the preseason has been fine. We obviously have a number of new faces, and I think that they've gotten acclimated to the style of play and the level of play. You never really know until the lights come on how the new guys will do and how they'll acquit themselves. But with the exhibition and the scrimmage behind us, we feel like we made progress after each of those two competitions. But I think Friday is a completely different animal. With a full house expected and great energy in the convo and a significant opponent, we'll find out a lot about ourselves come Friday night.
As you take a look at the players that are returning for your team this year, who has made the biggest leap as far as their basketball IQ, their playing on the floor, just their overall game from a year ago?
Well, it's interesting in that a couple of the guys have been hurt. We have one freshman, Hari Hall, that played really well in the Navy scrimmage 2 Sundays ago and has not practiced since that day. Ivan Lukic, who I thought had a great off season, sustained a concussion 3 weeks ago and hasn't practiced. And then, obviously the two guys that were incumbent starters, Andre Nation and Tom Vodanovich, guys I thought were really ready and had got great minutes last year. And in the case of Tom Vodanovich, is a guy that brings great energy to our front court, has not practiced until just very recently. So I think the other guys that are left, Ron Carey has played well. Yohani Dallenbarrett has shown more consistency in practice than he has shown last year as a freshman. And Jackson Kent has made a jump from last year to this year. He's certainly making shots and playing with more energy and kind of aware of what he needs to do to help our team. I think all the new guys have shown glimmers of what we need them to do.
So you're saying collectively this group has made a good advancement in terms of the guys that are returning, that they've all made very good strides in their game?
Yeah, I think that's the thing you hope for freshmen, that when they become sophomores, it's a significant jump. And then really after that, after the sophomores you're talking about, we have 2 juniors that are going to play on Friday night, Ron Carey and Winston Grays. And the other junior is Andre Nation, not playing. So the 2 juniors on, Ron Carey and Winston Grays, certainly for us are going to start, we think, on Friday night. And I think Ron's had a good off season. He's in great shape. He's shooting the ball significantly better than he was a year ago. That was the thing with Ron last year. From a statistical perspective, could he certainly improve his 3-point percentage? And there's every reason to hope that he has significantly improved his shooting. Now he's got to go do it during the course of the season.
Have you gone through any reinventions of players this year?
No, not really. I think the one thing would be that Jackson Kent is certainly stronger, than he was a year ago. He put on 22 pounds, so our strength coach did a remarkable job with him. But the other guys, either they've been hurt or they've had good off seasons and they've been in and out of the lineup to date, Kurt, because some of the injuries we've had to that sophomore class. But we're anxious to throw it up on Friday and see how we respond.
From the newcomers, Joey MacLean obviously brings you a lot of speed and quickness out front. Can you speak a little bit about his game, what he brings to you?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Ron and Joey MacLean have played a lot together already in the preseason. And I think they started the Navy scrimmage together and played well together. But Joey is really a natural point guard with the ball in his hands, and is very comfortable getting into tight cracks in the defense, something that we really do need from that smaller point guard. We're fortunate to get a guy that I think he's got a really good basketball IQ. He's got really good burst of speed. And the thing that's been fun to watch with Joey as he grows as a player is that he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes, especially when he throws the ball up ahead in transition. What we're going to need from Joey, like most freshmen, is to recognize how hard you've got to play at this level to have great success. There are times that Joey can play kind of stuck in neutral defensively and relying on his quickness. And he gets caught sometimes trying to steal the ball against guys that aren't going to turn the ball over like they might in high school.
That leads me into the next question. What do we anticipate defensively from the Dukes this year?
Well, what we want to do is be somewhat more disruptive defensively and get into passing lanes and to create some more deflections, if not turnovers, on the defensive end. Again, we put this style to play because we were anticipating having two high-energy defensive players in Andre Nation and Tom Vodanovich, two guys that were very comfortable getting in passing lanes. In fact, do it quite naturally themselves. And then we looked at our team and said, how can we play using 9 or 10 guys, being disruptive and using the length and the quickness that we seem to have, because we're not a very tall team, obviously, at 4 or 5, but we think we're deep. You know, we think we have 3 4-men and we have 3 5-men, and we could run guys in and out. But without Nation and Vodanovich, it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress in terms of getting our depth back and getting the energy back from those two guys that are going to certainly add a lot to our team when they come back.
We got together with all the other coaches for Media Day, CAA, just a few weeks ago, and give us a little bit of the Matt Brady vision of what to anticipate from the CAA this season.
Well, you know, I think as coaches we all feel the same way. I think it's the most even this league has been. And I sat here a year ago and said that about last year's CAA. What none of us could predict, forecast, or speculate about was the addition of one player at the University of Delaware, Devon Usher, and kind of the impact that he had. I mean, he was a guy that we all thought was going to be a 9 or a 10 points a game guy and add a lot of offensive ability to their team. What he became is a guy that had, you know, 3 30-point games and one nearly a 40-point game. So what he did to their program and their team for last year was huge, and because of that, they kind of ran away with the regular season league title. But even with that being said, they were in a tremendous amount of close games. We all, as coaches, envision there's going to be a lot of close games. I think the first place team, whoever it ends up being, is going to be in a dogfight when they play the 10th place team on the road. It doesn't really matter. There's not a lot of separation. And one of the things that we hope for is to go through a season without injuries or anything else that's going to keep guys out of the rotation, because I think that that's what can be the separation between the top half of our league, top third of our league, and the bottom third of our league.
All right, thanks for that insight. Let's now send it over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill with our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon. Gentlemen.
Coach, since that exhibition game against on 2 Sundays ago, I guess what has changed with the team? What adjustments have you guys been able to make that you feel more comfortable with the team going into UVA?
Yeah, from 2 Sundays ago? Well, you know, it's interesting because we are playing a style that we have not employed defensively. And some of the things that Navy gave us trouble with and they scored against us with offensively, we went and worked on it that week. Those weren't the same problems that presented them to us for Philadelphia University. In fact, the way that Philly U scored against us was really kind of the way that we feel like when we get good at this defense, that teams are going to have to score against us, which is really playing one-on-one and trying to dribble at you. And the way that they dribbled at us created some problems because it wasn't something that we've done. And it wasn't so much using ball screens against Philly University. It's guys just kind of used open space and dribbled for long stretches of the court and scored against us, or got in the lane and threw the ball to the other side of the court. So really, we got great utility out of both those exhibitions. One, the exhibitions versus Philly U, and the other against Navy. What we saw were 2 completely different ways of trying to score against us that we needed to play against. We thought they were tremendously valuable teaching tools. And yet again, I would say it's going to be completely different against, you know, Virginia on Friday. But I think we've gotten better in those 2 exhibitions, even though we haven't had the full allotment of players.
As a coach, how tough is it to kind of develop and work towards an identity when you have a couple of players who are injured and a couple of players who can't play?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I say this every week when we get into this. I spend a lot of time talking, or rather reading about other teams. And 2 days ago, I have a former assistant of mine that's at the University of Arizona, and we were talking, and I went back and read some of the quotes by Sean Miller, who's got a top 4 team in the preseason. And identity is the word that he's struggling with his own team. He went to the Pac-12 Media Day, and he talked a lot about his team doesn't have a defensive identity. And it was in an article 2 days ago, and his assistant and I were talking about Arizona is lacking an identity, and they're the preseason #2 team in the country. And so I take from that I take a lot of stock in that a team with a great returning nucleus doesn't have the same identity as they had a year ago, and we have a completely different nucleus, and we're without a large part of our nucleus, and we're employing a completely different style of defense, I think. So my take on that is we're going to be a team that hopefully gets better as the year goes on, and we're not going to rely on any one guy to score the ball. And I think when we get healthy and we get all of our guys back, I think the one thing that we're going to have is the best depth that we've had in my time here.
I wanted to follow up on a couple things you said earlier. Harry Hall and Lukic, you said you expect them to be back last week. What's the hold-up with them and their injuries?
The guys that are coming back?
Yeah, those two guys.
Harry Hall has been out for 2 weeks. We expect him to be able to practice tomorrow.
Okay.
Unless he walks under a ladder or something and breaks some glass, I don't know. But if he's healthy tomorrow, Ivan Lukic today for the first time in almost 3 weeks. We expect him to be back. Tom Vodanovich came back last week from a few weeks away. So it's been one of those kind of preseasons where we haven't really. I think we've had one day where we've had everybody back, everybody healthy.
How come Tom hadn't been practicing with you guys after the suspensions were issued?
Yeah, he had a concussion.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he got back last week, and he practiced well. He's practiced hard. And Tom has been really good. I think, there's some things with Tom, after we get him back in a couple games that, he has to be much more diplomatic with his shot selection. So it's something we're talking about. And he needs to be much more of a glue guy. I think sometimes guys make a jump from their freshman or sophomore year, and they expect that their games have increased, many-fold. But I think what you have to do is you have to become a smarter basketball player. And I think that's the thing we're asking Tom to be, is a smarter basketball, bring energy and toughness, but be a wiser basketball player.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to say in your 7 seasons here, Friday's opponent's probably the best team you guys have brought in. You scheduled that game before you knew Andre Nation wasn't going to be a part of it. Do you feel like the buzz for the JMU side of this thing has taken a hit at all without him in your lineup?
You know what? I don't really know. I don't take a lot of time to measure the buzz on campus. I look at it every year. That this is a season-long journey that we're going on together. And every year, it seems like the guy, I look behind me who's in the back of my truck, and it's always different guys. It's never the same guys. And the guys that jump on the journey with me, sometimes they jump in the truck halfway down the road. So I can't really, I don't really get too, I'm not too amped up about one particular game. I will say that when we scheduled this game, this is a different team, for a lot of reasons than the team that when we scheduled the game. We thought that that the team that we had that would be starting in this game is not the team that we're starting on Friday night. But I can tell you a lot of coaches feel that way right now about their teams.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but single game tickets for Friday are going on StubHub for more than an entire season ticket package.
You can't have mine. I'm not selling you mine.
I'm just curious, what's your reaction to that, and what do you think that says about the two fan bases being represented in this game?
Well, I'm excited that there's great excitement. And I think that is something that, we talk all the time about trying to schedule great games. We were tremendously fortunate that Coach Bennett and his staff agreed to do a 1-for-1. To me, there's not a lot of intrinsic value doing a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 or getting bought by the University of Virginia, but there is great value in starting a series. But getting the number 7 team in the country to have a series with you and return the game is significant. I'm excited for everybody at JMU. I'm excited for our players. And what I continuously remind our guys when they get tired at the end of practice, these are the games that you grow up dreaming about playing when you're in the playground. And so let's not lose sight of the opportunity that's in front of us, and let's make sure that we are, while we may not be as healthy as we want to be, let's make sure we bring the great energy that we need to bring in order to pull a great upset.
With UVA coming in, and obviously the resume they bring and the excitement that we've been talking about, how do you prepare your team mentally for an atmosphere that you don't really get day in and day out?
Yeah. No, we haven't had it since I've been here. I mean, we've played George Mason a few times. We played Old Dominion. When we've played in-state rivals, we've had great crowds. And when you play out-of-state teams, you're not going to have the same rivalry. So, you know, I think the buzz is terrific. I think our guys will be really excited. But the fact of the matter is we're a young team out there. There's not really a way for us to, you know, simulate what they're going to feel on Friday night. In fact, I can tell you, I don't think our guys know how they're going to feel on Friday. I don't think this is not a very introspective group. I don't think that they're looking at how are we going to feel on Friday, and they're not talking about it in the locker room. I think that it's going to hit them like a ton of bricks on Friday at, you know, around 5 o'clock. And I don't think there's any way around it. We're going to have to experience it firsthand.
As a follow-up, is there maybe a slice of caution of that being maybe a distraction into, you know, obviously trying to do your best you can on that day?
Well, I'll say this. I think our guys are really excited about the game, but I don't think they've never experienced, nor have I, and only a few of us in this room have experienced 7,000 people in the Convo. And so we're going to all see what it looks like together. And hopefully we're going to play great. And we're going to be up to the challenge, and we're going to follow the game plan and play our best game that we possibly can play. But as I often say, no matter what happens, at 9 o'clock on Friday, we've got to turn the page and get ready for a game on Monday.
Mm-hmm. You talk about the atmosphere for this game. Are you expecting a pro JMU crowd at the Convo on Friday?
Yeah, I'm expecting it. Yeah, I'd be surprised if we don't have a pro JMU crowd. You know, but to be honest with you, I recognize there's going to be a lot of people coming from across the mountain. And that's fine. And to me, we have the home court advantage for a lot of reasons. And you know, I'm excited to see how our team competes against such a great basketball team and such a well-coached team, and you know, basically a team with a lot of the ingredients that nearly went to the Final Four a year ago.
Mm-hmm. They're a top 10 team in both national polls. Do you see any area on the court where you guys have an edge against this team?
No.
No. What makes you say that?
Well, I think this is a team that nearly went to the Final Four, and even their freshman, Devon Hall, is a redshirt freshman. You know, a top 100 player in the country that they redshirted a year ago. You know, I think that their upper class guys are the guys that are going to lead the way. For us, our upper class guys are cheering for us on the sideline, you know, in street clothes. So their best players are playing, and not all of our best players are playing. They have the advantage of going through a 35-game schedule a year ago with very few losses and with some remarkably convincing wins, including a 20-point win against a great Syracuse team a year ago. They have a lot of positive experiences to build on, and they have a style of play that hasn't changed. And they have a first-team All-ACC player in Malcolm Brogdon. It's a great player, but their roster is really legitimate. They've got nothing really but terrific college basketball players on their roster. Yep.
They have, one of the more deliberate paces in the nation. You guys are trying to speed things up. I mean, how is tempo just one of the biggest keys in this game, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know that we're going to speed up the University of Virginia. I think I'm hopeful that we have some uncharacteristic turnovers, but Tony's teams don't turn it over. They don't take bad shots. They don't give you second shots. And they have 5 really experienced players on the court at all times, save for a couple of freshmen that Tony's going to sprinkle in, like he did last year with London Parantes, who nearly was the ACC Rookie of the Year a year ago. So, I don't think our style is going to be tremendously disruptive to the University of Virginia. One, because we don't have all our guys, but number 2, we're uncertain of ourselves at this point. And, but I think, we will get better as the season goes on. And I'm really hopeful that we continue to improve as we flip the calendar from game by game.
You mentioned Parantes, him and one other Virginia guy suspended for your game. Does that change how you game plan against these guys at all?
Well, I think, I would say to you, from a coach's perspective, it takes away one of their great shooters. I mean, he was a kid who shot 44% from three-point range as a freshman. Made the all-rookie team, is on the Bob Cousy list for one of the top point guards in the country. So it hurts them. I mean, but they get him back after Friday night, so it's not as if it's an extended suspension, but there's a lot of answers on that roster. I don't think Tony's just going to plug another guy in, and like they did last year. They started somebody else and they plugged London in, and he had a good second half against us last year. I think this is an exciting game for a lot of reasons, and I don't look at they're missing guys or we're missing guys. for me, that doesn't take away any of the excitement about this game.
Thanks.
That'll wrap it up this afternoon here at O'Neill's Grill. Thank you very much there, Coach Brady. Again, the Dukes opening up the season at home against the 8th-ranked Virginia Cavaliers. Tip-off time is 7 o'clock at the JMU Convocation Center. You can hear the game on the JMU and Telos Wireless Broadcast Network, including News Radio 550, WSVA in Harrisonburg, and on Matazone HD Sportsnet Audio. And there you can join Mike Schickman as well as Carl Magenhofer. And you can join us on Matazone HD Sportsnet Video. And that'll be yours truly and Kyle Hightower, and we'll begin our coverage at 6:50. Thank you for joining us this week for our triple hitter of fan and press luncheons with the JMU football coach Everett Withers, women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks, and men's basketball coach Matt Brady. Have a great week, everyone.